Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl, Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. Our wall's getting a little bit too small for these guys, I gotta tell you. But anyway, I've been involved with quality for over 40 plus years, aerospace, medical implants, medical materials, printing and plastic distribution, where we dealt with every industry under the sun. I've dealt with Boeing and Boeing engineers back in the day, back in the early 90s when I was in aerospace. A good bunch of people. But anyway, I want to tell you, today is a very special video. We have in here, I can't believe it, Boeing ousts the head of its troubled 737 MAX program after quality control concerns. And here he is, Ed Clark, Mr. Ed Clark, and we have him up on our wall as well. He's the VP of the MAX program and also the general manager of the Renton, Washington facility. And he got fired today. I'm sure there's going to be more heads to roll, but we also have David Calhoun, who was interviewed after the after the Alaska Air door popped. And he talked about his regulator, the FAA. Now, I am going to demonstrate to you, ladies and gentlemen, you shareholders, you passengers on that plane, on any of the planes that Boeing manufactures, all of it, you will find out that, in quality, we have to deal with root cause analysis. So you got to go back a couple years. You're going to find out through my presentation that number one, Boeing sits on the board of their accreditation body, ANSI ANAB. Not just sits there. They sit on the part of the board that can be, of course, the board of directors, which guides the company, their accreditation body, no less. And they also sit on the board that can grant, suspend, and withdraw certification. We have all the data. The damage has been done. So if they say out in the news, well, we're off their board, we're off, but they still on their supplier portal, if you look right now, it will say ANSI, ASQ, National Accrediting Board, ANAB, or internationally equivalent. That's on their supplier portal. In 2002, you're going to discover that they did the same thing. Well, let's go through it a little bit. They said, if you send us an AS9100 certificate for quality for aerospace, send us a certificate, ANSI, ANAB accredited, of course, because they sit on the board, and also they said, send us a certificate, and all you have to do is send us your parts, and we will accept them. We don't have to send any more inspection to you. And then in 2009, you're going to discover, while David Calhoun sat on the board, I think his head's on the chopping block too pretty soon, because when you start seeing them get rid of these people, the CEO is on the next plane out of there. Hopefully it's not a 737 MAX. But anyway, let's continue. David Calhoun sat on the board of directors in 2009 when the FAA came in and gave them regulatory authority. We will show you that. They put all these people there. We have offered, my team and I, have offered our services for Boeing to Boeing, because if they do not use Guberman PMC to assist them in getting rid of these rejections, then there will be a catastrophe larger than Ethiopian Air and also Malaysian Air. And behind closed doors, I am sure you have the actuaries talking about disaster. Because let's face facts, those planes go in and out all the time, and I get the same bullshit from people. Daryl, it's the safest way to travel. But let me just tell you something. When one of those things go down, that's 300 people. Boom. See ya. It's an 80-20 rule too. 80% you're going to die, 20% you may live. So let's continue with this, because I think it's absolutely deplorable. And I have an actual interview with Mr. Calhoun stating that our regulator, the FAA, now, when they were made regulator of the FAA, somebody should have taken the bull by the horns, gone down in management, and gave them the cheerleader. Because to be made a regulator, especially a federal agency regulator, you've got a lot of prestige there. But it appears that Boeing didn't give a shit. Well, you look at Dennis Muhlenberg. 370 people got killed on his watch. Oh, he didn't get his $14.9 million, severance, this, that, the other thing, but bonuses. But he did contractually get $62 million as an exiting salary. These guys don't give a damn. They're their punching bag, really. They need people to roll up their sleeves and get on the floor. You can't deal with the suits and the ties. You got to unloosen it a little bit, because I think the blood is getting trapped, so it's not really functioning into the brain. But I am going to go through this right now. You have the American National Standards Institute, which is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental entity, corporation that has both federal agencies and corporations on board. Sitting there is, of course, you have ANAP. ANSI-ANAP have over 10 different registrars in China that can issue an ANAP accredited certification. ANSI-ANAP are underwriters for the International Accreditation Forum incorporated in Delaware. It's a repository for both national and international accreditation bodies. That means ANSI and ANAP watch over all those bodies as an underwriter. Legally, the ANSI and ANAP are responsible. They're also an underwriter for the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. Here is an actual government contract from 2018, that states that ANSI, ANAP are underwriters for the IAF. Yes. In 2018, the American National Standards Institute took over complete control of the American National Crediting Board. They're basically one company, but they're separate entities. They keep it that way. They also, during this time, sat on the IAF. The IAF was controlled by a communist Chinese national who's been involved with our quality since 1994, from 2015 to 21. Sitting as an equivalent to ANSI-ANAP as an accreditor, but they're still they're underwriters for both Iran and Pakistan. Iran most recently got their certificate taken away for not because of quality, because of lack of payment. Now we get on with Boeing. Boeing. Here's Boeing. You also have the factor that they sit on ANSI's board. In 2002, as I told you, here is the bulletin that states on-site Boeing survey/audit of the supplier's quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system surveys. So once again, I will tell you, business owners, fellow associates, those passengers who are flying, think about this. For 22 years, they gave prestige to a piece of paper that their suppliers were shipping in, and they were shipping in parts, not doing on-site audits. You tell me what's wrong with that program. In 2009, this is a good kicker. This actually identifies Boeing as an FAA regulator. So when you have the factor that Mr. David Calhoun states in an interview, with many, many interviews he's done, our regulator is putting in procedures that we're going to... Hold on a sec. Boeing is an FAA regulator. They should already put in those procedures, but they didn't. I see in an article that newly created position of quality control program vice president, whatever, newly created. That creation should have always been there. Always. Let's continue. The FAA increased the authority of Boeing's commercial airlines division to self-certify its own aircraft. And this is the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear about Boeing hoodwinking the FAA over the MCAS system, Boeing was the FAA. They don't, and they still are, they don't have to tell the FAA anything, because listen to what they did. And this is from 2009. The system allows Boeing employees to perform tasks on behalf of the FAA that include oversight of testing and product standards, along with certification of aircraft technologies like MCAS and new aircraft designs. So when you hear them trying to bullshit you on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all the rest of that, saying, oh yes, the MCAS system, Boeing really never notified anyone about it. They didn't have to. They are the FAA. And here it is on the supplier portal. It even states ANSI-ANAP. Okay, I should know. My business is Guberman PMC, GPMC LLC, a registrar. There is no legal law that says that you can't be a registrar, accredited, etc. All right? And I tried to get companies to get involved because my company is better, because I support my customers. I've got aerospace background. So an AS9100 certificate that's coming from GPMC LLC is superior to ANSI-ANAP, as you can see with all the bullshit that's going on with Boeing. And you can't make this up. My phone number is 203-556-1493, or Daryl, Daryl, TQRS at yahoo.com. And I should know, because I was on the phone with two Boeing employees from purchasing who said, oh, we can't accept your certificate because you're not ANSI ANAB accredited yet. In 2013, I gave a speech at the American Society for Quality, which at the time owned ANAB 50%, the American National Accrediting Board. Mr. David Levy, a Region 3 director, said, and I quote, "Mr. Guberman, we have no problem with what Guberman PMC or GPMC is doing. In fact, ANAB supports you, sir." And I have that audio. I have the video. If you want to see it, contact me. I'm going to give my number again and email at the end of the video. In 2016, a Mr. Randy Dodry, okay, at the time he was a technical advisor. At one time he was a vice president of ANAB, also the chairman and principal on the IAF tax report, asked me to join either the IAF or ANAB or both. But how, as a proud American, could I have done that? A year prior to that, he had handed over IAF, where ANSI ANAB sit, as I've showed you, where they sit. How could I do that and compromise my integrity by joining either ANAB or IAF? We're a proud American. We did not do that, so we refused. Another thing is this. Boeing, as an FAA regulator, got caught fudging documentation. You can't make this up. Most recently, they got an $8.1 million fine for their Bell Boeing composite facility. They were fudging documentation too for 11 years, from 2007 to 2018. You also have the Federal Aviation Administration sitting over by Boeing. Two regulators, okay? You have the Department of Justice. Now I'm going to play for you David Calhoun's regulatory comments after the door blew off the Alaskan airline. And here it is.
To speculate, but I will say this. The work that our regulator, in this case the FAA, has been doing to inspect the situation and create a procedure and a protocol for the airlines to go out and inspect each and every one of the airplanes, 100% of them, and make sure certain the work that our regulator, in this case the FAA, has been doing to inspect the situation and create a procedure and a protocol for the airlines to go out and inspect each and every one of the airplanes, 100% of them, and make sure certain they're in. But I will say this: the work that our
And that is it, the work of our regulator. The next thing I'm going to say is this. We tried to turn on organizations to our company when we first started almost 13 years ago. And they told us we can't, we have to get ANAB accredited, it's a scam, it's this, it's that. These are the words. But you know what they really said to me? Now, I've asked probably, all told, during my 13 years, I probably asked about 40 people, business owners throughout the country, about transferring over. We can give you a better situation, better representation. We can do a lot for you. And they said, Daryl, we can't because their purchasing people say we only have to accept ANAB accreditation. Well, let me just tell you something. This is what these people say to me all the time, even to this day. Daryl, it's a scam. Daryl, we can't scam. You know why? Because ANSI ANAB are with the federal agencies and corporations. This is it. Our certificate is not a scam. Our certificate is supported and represented by me, Daryl Guberman. And after all, if it was 3 days, you'd say, well, he's not telling anything. If it was a week, if it was a year, if it was 4 years. It's been 13 years, ladies and gentlemen, we've been pounding away. And yes, there are many of our customers who supply materials to Boeing on second tier, first tier areas. No flight safety stuff. And they do supply them. Send in the certificate, they send them the parts. That's where I've learned that from our own customers. And we don't have many within the aerospace community, nor do we want them. In the fact that the way Boeing plays this game, you send us a certificate, you send us the parts, and there you go. I say this again, if Boeing, the only way Boeing is going to get rid of their quality escapes, meaning rejections, is to get Daryl Guberman and his team on board. If not, The attrition that's happening now with a Mr. Clark, it's going to keep on going, and never can tell. David Calhoun must be not sleeping at night, although making $22 million a year. He probably rests easier than you and I do. I thank you. 203-556-1493 or Daryl, TQRS @yahoo.com. I thank you.